Привет and welcome to my first video, which might also be the last one. You never know. This video today is about a very polemic subject, which is women in drag. Oh, why did you choose this subject? Well, because I am a cisgendered woman who is doing drag for almost 2 years, 1.5. I don't know. I'm from the humanities. And people always come to me and they ask questions, what I think about that, what I think about that. Not only me, but also to my friends who are also women in drag. And I had the idea of making then a video where I can answer all these questions at once, which is really practical because now I don't need to write everything all over. I can just send the link of the video. So what I did was basically ask people to send me questions that they had regarding that subject, women in drag. And they sent me, I got lots of questions. Together with my friends, we chose some of them, which are more interesting and are not offensive. And now I'm going to answer them in the video that consists of 2 parts because there are lots of questions for me to answer. Before we start, I would like to make this small disclaimer that all the answers that I'm going to give here, they are going to be about the cisgendered experience of being a woman in drag. Oh, why? Well, because I am not a trans woman, so it's not my place to talk about the transgender experience. But at the same time, I don't want to invalidate or erase them from this. So I talked to a very good friend of mine from Brazil who is a trans woman and she does drag, and she just sent me this audio that I'm going to play right now with talking a little bit about the trans experience in drag. Later I'm going to do an interview with her so that we can really talk about it, because as I'm a cisgendered woman, I know about my experience and that's what I'm here to talk about. But if you are a trans woman and you do drag and you are watching this video, you can answer the same questions that I am trying to answer here in the comment section, which will also be very nice and very helpful. So let's hear my friend right now and then we start with the first question.
Primeiramente, né, tipo, as pessoas confundem muito trans e travesti, drag transexual. E isso acontecia comigo antes também. Por quê? Porque quando eu me aceitei como transexual, eu tinha 12 anos de idade, né? Então, a gente não tinha muita informação, a gente nunca tem muita informação. Até porque quando mostra pra gente o que é transexual, mostra aquelas mina peituda, bunduda, totalmente feminina. Quando eu comecei a perceber que trans podia fazer drag, ser performática, sabe? Eu comecei a abranger minha mente de uma forma muito incrível. E existe muito preconceito, né, no meio trans e drag. E eu já passei por coisas do tipo, mas é tão estranho porque você não pode ser trans e drag ao mesmo tempo, tem que escolher um. Já escutei isso muito, sabe? Ou eu já sofri muito preconceito por eu ser trans, negra, tatuada, com piercing, magra, não ter peitão, não ter bundão, e já sofri preconceito por isso também. E aí, tipo, é complicado demais. Mas eu lido com isso como uma forma meio que de militância mesmo, sabe? Se eu tô incomodando, é isso que tá importando. Eu acho isso incrível, sabe? Você poder sair na rua de outro jeito, de outra forma, poder falar de outra forma.
Do you consider the term fishy to be misogynistic? Well, the term fishy comes actually from the perception of some gay men that our vaginas smell really bad. So it smells like fish. So that's why they call when a person is doing drag and it's reproducing very well the stereotypes of femininity, they call this person fishy, because this person looks like she has a vagina, and if she has a vagina, it smells really bad. So it's a horrible expression. I hate using that, and yes, I myself consider that misogynistic. But you are the one should decide if you want to keep using that or not. I chose not, because I think that's not nice. Did you ever suffer any sort of harassment in the drag scene? Well, sexual harassment, no. Psychological harassment, yes. Loads of times from men who do drag. For example, mansplaining all the time. They always try to tell us how should we do drag, how should we look like, which songs should we lip sync, how should our feminism be, how should we treat them because they are gay men, they are not heterosexual men, so we should not treat them the same way as you treat heterosexual men, and blah 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 blah. So this happens a lot. Another thing that also happens a lot is gaslighting, because we hear things like, oh my god, you are so dramatic. Just because I said that women cannot do drag, are you doing all this drama? So we got this sort of gaslighting all the time, that you were an attention whore, that you were doing that just to get likes, that you want drama, that you want people throwing cookies at you, and all these kind of things. But I just want to make clear that this kind of psychological harassment happens not because we are in the drag scene. This kind of psychological harassment happens to women regardless of where they are. So it's not something from the drag scene, it's something that comes from men. The next one is a big one. So, hi Vlada. Hi. So, genuinely, I cannot see women in drag as drags. I see them as artists with lots of makeup on, who happens to be women, but not drag queens. Drag began in the theater, when women could not participate. Then men dressed up as women to play their parts. So, do women want to be called drag because of this construction and activism, since it's not because of history? Well, I think every time that we talk about history, we have to be aware that if there is a history, there is a group of people writing them. And usually, at least in the Western world where I am, men, white and heterosexual, were the kind of people responsible for writing history. That's why if we take history as an argument, we will barely see the participation of minorities at all. So I think we should be firstly aware of that history is a mechanism of power, because you can choose what do you want to tell and what you do not want to tell. Second, I think that women weren't allowed to be on stages on like 600 years ago. Why do you still want to keep doing that and telling us that we do not belong on a stage? Like, really? Do you still think like an European man from 1500? I will just give some examples from the culture where I grew, which is the Brazilian culture, of women that were doing drag already for a long time, but just weren't being regarded as such. We can have Maria Alcina, we can have Elke Maravilha, who were all women performing gender non-conformity, which is what drag is about, right? So if you want to keep using history as an excuse to keep excluding us, women and black people and Latin people and whichever sort of minority of something, you should be aware that what you are doing is not nice. Is it really easier for a woman to get in drag? No, it's not. And the reason why is actually pretty simple, because drag is not about trying to look like a woman. Okay, you can have some traits of femininity or whatever, but you are not focused on trying to look like a woman. You can be, but you are not necessarily trying to do that. I think that's a problem with the reality show we all know that brought drag to mainstream. That is because the criterion of the reality show, it's the gender transformation criterion. And then people watch that and think that's the criterion for the whole thing, for drag as a whole, which is not. So no, it's not easier for a girl to get in drag just because she's a girl. And if even after me saying that, you still think I'm wrong, I have just one word for you. Uterus. Go look for that on Wikipedia and how that works, please. How should we call women in drag? Should we call them folk queens, lady queens, hyper queens, bio queens? That's actually a very easy one. Just call us drag queens. So thank you for watching my first video. If you have any sorts of comments, critics, ideas, you can just do that here on the comment section and send me a direct on my Instagram. And please subscribe to the video. In around 1 week, we see each other again with part 2 of that. Пока-пока!